Drum Talk TV fans. Dan Schinder here with my special guest, A.D. Adams. We're going to jam a little bit, and then we're going to talk drumming, take some questions. Hopefully our Wi-Fi signal will hold up. This is our second start.
What sort of wizardry is that?
He loves the vibrato thing. Hey, thanks for joining us. And if you're not familiar with who this guy is, he's not only an amazing drummer and a great drum teacher, but one of my favorite drummers and one of my best friends. A.D. Adams he's played punk, speed metal, classic rock. He's in a country band. He's in a very popular swing band because he's the drummer for Louis Prima Jr. and the Witnesses. And for those of you who aren't familiar who that is, because maybe you're under 60 years old, no,
I'm barely.
yeah, look up Sing, Sing, Sing. That's Louis Prima Sr. and now his son for many years, actually. You've been with him 7 years.
7
Louis
years.
Prima Jr. is carrying on that legacy, and they're not only playing the wonderful music of his father, but you guys, you mentioned you're getting ready to record your third album now.
3.
Yeah, there's a great interview. Well, I think it's a great interview.
I think
Actually, people have told us it's a great interview on the Drum Talk TV website with A.D. and Louis Jr. At drumtalktv.com. And before I forget, in case you're wondering where to get these really cool Drum Talk TV shirts, as well as many other designs that are taken from the memes that I make for our channel, go to drumtalktv.com/shop. And today, May 7th, is the last day for free standard shipping wherever you are. So we got that out of the way.
Wow.
But yeah, so what's going on, man?
Man, you know, we're doing the...
And while you're telling them and telling me, I'm going to make sure we're still live.
Once bitten, twice shy, right?
Yeah.
Well, we're getting ready to do the third record, like we said, and we don't know where we're going to do it yet. We have a very short list of producers, which we're very excited about. I can't divulge them yet, but the producer is going to determine which studio we do the session in. The interview you did, we did it at Capitol Records, which
Yeah.
is a thrill.
Oh, that was amazing. Actually, a funny story. I don't know if I ever told you about something that happened there.
No.
So, we were watching you guys track and stuff
Right.
in the control room, and I went to the bathroom. I don't know. I had to go out in the hall for something to get some gear or go to the bathroom, and I'm hyper focused on what's going on. Okay, I got to wait till they're done. Then I'm going to get with A.D. and Louis in this other room. Oh, I think I went to set stuff up in the other room where we did the interview. And so as I'm thinking about all this and I'm walking through, as I leave the studio they were in, there's a gentleman talking to two young ladies. And as I walk by, I'm like, who is that? Who is it? You know, my random access memory is trying to find who that is. And I couldn't put it together until like the next day. It was someone who I have always wanted to interview. It was Eddie Kramer.
Eddie Kramer,
the engineer for Led Zeppelin.
Everybody.
And I was like, oh my God, that was Eddie Kramer. I walked by, and he nodded and said hi, and I said hi, but my brain was going, who is that, who is that, who is that, who is that?
Yeah.
Didn't figure it out till like a day later.
I clammed up. You know, I just wish I choked on my own tongue.
You do that all the time anyway.
I do anything, right?
But that was really cool. That was an amazing experience. Hi, Mrs. Drum Talk TV.
So we're getting ready to go
that's
back on
really
tour
cool.
again. We leave the 28th.
Wait, I'm sorry, I want to ask you about the album first.
Oh,
Okay.
sure, sure.
So do you know yet, or can you say yet, what might be the biggest difference between the first two albums and this album, or is it that it's not different at all, and it's just some more of the great stuff you guys are doing?
Both.
Okay.
Great question. Great question. We're growing as a band, and the sound that Prima Senior created, that fun. I mean, it's how can you not have fun listening to that old Prima music?
The swing metal.
Oh my! It is. It really
Right.
is. It's like it's
It
fast.
had an attitude.
280 beats a minute. You better hold
Yeah.
on. You know.
Yeah.
And so the first album we did was mostly his father's stuff. You know, the classic Prima. You know, Jump Jive and Wail, Just a Gigolo, things like that.
Right.
Second album, we kept it completely in that vein, but it was 70% original. So we wrote toward that as a goal, to keep that sound, to embed that, you know, into our discography, so to
Right.
speak. This third album, we're taking a little bit of a chance. So we're still going to have the great swing sound in there, a lot of great jumping swing numbers, a beautiful ballad that Ryan wrote,
Great.
Ryan McKay,
Right.
incredible songwriter, wrote for Leslie. It's just
Oh, great.
it's beautiful,
That's
absolutely
awesome.
tearjerker.
Oh, really?
Just beautiful. And we're taking some chances though. We're branching out a little bit and taking that Prima sound into into the new millennium.
Yeah.
And
That's exciting. It's so cool that that music has lasted this long. Behind where this camera is, I have a 1924 Victrola. What do they call it? Victrola talking machine.
Talking machine.
Yeah, the Victor Talking Machine Company. Yeah. And it still works. And so my wife and I have records from like the early 1900s into the teens and 20s, which was the beginning of what ended up where swing evolved from.
Sure.
You know, and the attitude and the smaller band from the big bands and the orchestras and,
Sure.
you know, all that stuff. And it's amazing to me that today that music is not only still popular to buy those old recordings, but there's there's contemporary bands like like yourselves, and Cherry Poppin' Daddies and
Sure.
Big Bad Voodoo Daddy, and you know, there's Brian Setzer's orchestra. It's really amazing how long that's lasted, you know?
There's a huge following. There, you know, no matter what city you go into, there are swing clubs where, not those.
I know, I'm like, dude, we gotta talk afterwards.
Yeah, we need to chat.
My wife's like,
There,
what?
there are these swing clubs where they have dances. I mean, like old school, and they bring in
The
bands.
Charleston and the Lindy Hop and all that
and
stuff.
they're dressing the part, the chains, and
Yeah.
the suits, and the big hats.
Oh,
and
that's so
I mean, it's
cool.
an amazing thing. So there's a lot of life in that music, and I think because it's happy music,
Yeah.
it's up tempo.
It's serious party music.
It is.
really
You know, the lyrics are positive. They're fun. It's just unabashed good time.
Yeah.
And it's not. Nobody's trying to trick you musically. It's not. It's something you can't wrap your hands around. It's accessible. It's 4 on the floor most of the time. So
Yeah.
if you can't dance to that, then you can't dance.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And but it's the energy and the attitude and the vibe, I think, that really brings that music to life. And we try to. Live, we're a 10-piece band. We've got horns and full rhythm section with the B3 and all that, and 4 horns plus Louis, the 5th horn.
Right.
Vocals coming out the yin yang. So we've got the entire package, and it's a show. We're sweating through 3-piece suits by the 3rd song. So we're up there working hard for you. It's fun. It's visual. There's a show going on. There's
Right.
we're not playing the tracks. It's human beings playing instruments.
Yeah.
Everything
Yeah. There's
that into
no.
it.
I almost used a word that I don't want to insult anyone that uses tracks or anything, but you folks will know what I mean. There's no trickery.
Sure.
There's and not that everyone that uses tracks is trickery.
Sure.
Sometimes there's cat triggers and stuff like that.
Absolutely.
But it's all what you hear. You are seeing it happen by the actual members of the band, and it's that's a valid statement to say because it's not always the case. There's sequencers, or there might be a track that comes along, and that's cool. But this is being done the way it was done when it was invented back in the day.
And every night is different. It doesn't matter what song we're playing. We don't work with a set list, which is pretty scary when you think about it. We have a running list of 53, 54 songs.
And Louis calls them out in between each. Like, do you ever have any idea? I guess for the opening number you do.
We
right?
know what we're going to open with, and we know what we're going to close with.
Right.
That's it.
Oh, and that reminds me. So, I had a
I saw the light
flashback.
bulb
Yeah, I
right
had a
there.
flashback to one of the shows. You've got to see them live because Louis plays drums. And Louis comes back behind AD at his drum kit. They play together, But then there's a part of the show, can I say this?
Sure,
Okay.
yeah, absolutely.
There's a part of the show where Louis continues to play drums and AD comes out front and dances around and sings lead, and they do this medley with the Rolling Stones and Zeppelin and all kinds of great stuff, and it is really cool with horns and you know, Ryan on guitar and Jeff on keyboard.
And back to the show is different every time. That medley is evolving every time.
Yeah.
We don't even do that the same every time. So we're really flying by the seat of our pants. So you not only have to tap into, you know, the knowledge of the songs. Like, man, Louis will turn around and call a song we haven't played in 2 years.
Yeah.
And he'll go, you know, he'll name the song, go 2, 3, 4, and you've got that much time to go through your, you know, your Rolodex.
Yeah.
And going, do I even remember this?
Do I even start in the beginning?
So it's a big tour. At the beginning of every tour, we got a lot of boning up to do. There's 53, 54 songs in the catalog. But it's fun because that way it's always fresh. Every night it's a fresh night. Every show is its own unique show. So you can see us 3 nights in a row and get a different show every night.
Yeah,
and that's, I think, what's fun. There's going to be certain features that we do that the crowd loves, and we kind of expected to do that.
Yeah.
And we usually oblige. Sometimes we oblige and we change it a little bit.
Yeah.
Again, a little wink, nudge,
That's cool.
and there we go. So it's fun. It's exciting. It's no doubt. And like you said, I played rock and roll music my whole life, punk. You know, all this music with energy. I've always attached myself to music with energy and fun. It's about this. It's about the smile. And this is by far the most intense, most rewarding project I've ever had to do. And part of it is obviously the music and the camaraderie and the love of what we're doing and each other, but it's also the legacy of Prima.
Yeah.
Carrying that forward into, you know, the future and giving that gift, that joy to younger people and replenishing that for the older kids.
And exposing the younger people to that style of music and that style of play for each instrument in the band too.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's interesting because, you know, as an old rock drummer, you know, you heard the term, you know, jazz snobs quite often. And I get it now. Oh, I totally get it because let me tell you, you played some up-tempo swing at 200 and, you know, almost 300 beats a minute, sometimes more, which is, you know, back-breaking work there. But, you know, you get that going and it helps you rock and roll. I mean, because you're swinging. When you're playing swing and shuffle, and you go back to a straight duple mode, it really solidifies your rock and roll playing. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of players who go, "Oh, I'm not going to play jazz." I would advocate study some jazz, study some big band.
Know where your heroes' influences came from.
Exactly.
You know, because if anyone's into classic rock, and even a lot of newer drummers, if you're into classic rock, there wasn't rock in their time. So people like Ginger Baker, John Bonham, Keith Moon, all these people, they were into jazz. That's what they
had. That's all they had. You know, borrowing Dad's records and digging into the, you know, what was on the radio and all the vaults and stuff, and boxes. Yeah, it was swing.
Yeah. Listen to Max Roach do a drum solo. You will hear John Bonham. The
sure.
That's all Max Roach.
Well, you take a song as simple as Johnny Be Good, as cliche. You know, some people would say, you know, Rock Around the Clock or Johnny Be Good, maybe the first rock song. But it's interesting to do that because how many cover bands have played Johnny Be Good throughout the ages?
All of them.
Every single one, right?
Basically.
Yeah. And if you really listen to what's happening in Johnny Be Good, most of the rhythm section, like the guitar especially, it is in duple mode.
Yeah.
The bass is playing quarter notes, but the drummer is swinging it.
Yeah.
And it's amazing because when you play that song with a cover band or something, and the bass player's do hitting the eighth notes, and I'm just thinking, no, don't do that because he's forcing me to play it straight.
Yeah.
But so again,
that's not the feel.
Johnny Be Good, even Johnny Be Good, the simplest, you know, of all the rock songs, it's a swinging number. It's a swing tune.
Yeah.
Whether we like to acknowledge that or not.
Exactly. Yeah. Hey, let's jam a little bit some more. Do you guys want us to jam? We'll jam. Let's see what everybody says. They may say no, don't jam. And, and maybe we'll switch stuff out. Do you want to play this? Should we both play these? What do you want to do?
I don't know. What what do we got over here? Let's talk about these.
Let's get these out.
Yeah.
So we'll move the steel tongue drum over a bit.
That thing is so cool.
Yeah, I love it. Thanks, Mark Temperato. And I got a new one coming all the way from Switzerland by the amazing hand pan hang drum and steel tongue drum player Omar Mariani in Switzerland. Makes them himself. He's sending me one. I can't wait to show it off and play it for you. So AD has, little plug here if you don't mind, the Ahead 3-zone practice pad. So it's got the regular surface, rubbery surface here, the hard, like marching surface here, and for endurance, the moon gel surface. So you also got like 3 notes there to work with.
I thought you gave me some pudding there, some sort of bowl of pudding on this thing. It's so.
And then I've got the Ahead distributes this Big Bang distribution. It's the RTOM black hole, and it's mesh. I'll tilt it a bit. It's mesh, and it's got a dot in the middle, and I've got my little attached pad here, so we'll just jam, I guess. So you start, and I'll try to follow along. How's that? And I might, you know what? I'll play trad grip. Yeah. See how I do. All right. A 1, a 2, a 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, you like that?
Woo! I felt that right in my forearm there.
Hey, first tell us 2 things. First, tell us where are you tuning in from, and then tell us if you like to play with other drummers. Maybe tag another drummer that you play with or would like to play with, so they can keep watching and see 2 guys doing whatever it is that we're doing here. Now I'm going to refresh the monitor and see who's tuning in. We'd love to know where you're tuning in from, and let's see what we have here. And thanks again for joining us. Really appreciate it. And just so you know, this mesh head RTOM piece, I'm going to take it out, it just pops off like that. We're giving one of these away actually through Big Bang Distribution. And after midnight Pacific time on May 10th, I'm going to go through all the posts where I've posted about this and find hopefully links to your videos of doing something like what we just did, a warm-up or an exercise or something on a snare drum or practice pad that you like to do. And then we're going to take all the names, put them in a program called Wordle, and it scrambles them and always makes one word the biggest word. And whoever that is, that's who gets it. And they make these in, AD was asking me earlier, do they make them in sizes other than 14? And they do, from 10 to 24 inches. So you can fit out your whole kit. I can't talk and do that at the same time. Wow.
Great for like apartment living or townhouse living.
Yeah, or if you got kids or sleep or
even like
college.
Any of you shot videos and know how horrible that is to try to keep the volume underneath the playback.
Right. Oh, and it
Great
makes your drums. Good point, because it makes your drums still sound like your drums. So it's still on tom-tom, but when I hit snare. shot, the mesh, and the dot. So I think they're really cool.
Yeah.
Thank you, Big Bang Distribution and Ahead. So let's see who is on board right now and where you're tuning in from. It's a little different here. I have to keep refreshing it because the actual camera is way over there. Ann Heffron, how are you? Thanks for tuning in. Andrew McGarry, feels like I've seen you before. Probably have. There's all kinds of other, from Texas, Matt Nelson, cool. Where else are folks tuning in from? Let us know. And there's a lot of other comments, but for some reason this thing is not letting me get to them. Thank you, technology.
Yeah.
Thanks, Facebook. So, how many of you like playing with other drummers? It's a lot of fun playing with other drummers, or a drummer and a percussionist, or two percussionists, things like that. Well, as a drum teacher and a drum instructor, and by the way, A.D. Adams, it's A.D. Adams. Find him on Facebook, his personal profile. Friend him, message him. He teaches lessons. He's here not here in Phoenix, because we're in Globe, Arizona, up in the mountains. We're in my wife's art gallery right now in the house. But AD is down in Phoenix and works with drummers of all types, all ages, sizes, shapes.
Yeah, you know it, absolutely.
And you're getting into, eventually, not too far off, launching Skype lessons. So
yes.
good time to make contact with AD to kind of get in line for that. But as a drum teacher, what's the number one thing every drum teacher should consider working with students? And if you're not a drum teacher and you're not even a student, this answer will still be important, because if we reverse the answer, it's something for us to consider ourselves as drummers, whether we're taking lessons, giving lessons, or neither, just playing. But what's the number one thing?
That's actually a really good question. Get to know your students personally. I mean, everybody's going to, there are certain things you have to learn. There are certain things that you know you've got to teach them. And that's the curriculum part of it. But the curriculum can adjust to the student. Get to know them. Some people are more adept with auditory input. Some people are more visual and they want to watch you play something. Other people, they can't do it unless you write it out in the notation. So there's a lot of, it's just, get to know your students, get to know your players as people. Listen, you're going to be in a small room with them anyway.
Right.
You're doing something you love, so get to know them.
Yeah.
And make friends along the way. It doesn't matter if they're 6 or 60, having that
or 66.
Absolutely. It's, well, it's not invisible. It's not invisible. I saw that. But you get to know the people, get to know the players, because you'd be amazed what you can learn in a conversation, and you can learn how to teach better by conversing.
I think the best teachers also always learn from their students.
Absolutely.
Yeah. No matter what you teach.
It's a conversation. The teaching isn't always about, I'm going to tell you something.
Right.
Because I have to hear how you're responding and how you're receiving that information. So I think, I'm not the type of teacher who sits down and writes out a chart and goes, okay, play number 1, play number 2, play the third one, play the fourth one. That's not getting, it's going to get you where you want to go, I suppose, but not as in depth. You want to know why, and then you're having trouble with something. You pick it apart and say, well, converse, ask questions. I ask a lot of questions as a teacher, because I want to know what they're receiving and how they're deciphering my information. And
what they want to do with it, right? Their goals, their interests, and all of that.
There's because I might be teaching them something that they really don't need right now.
Right.
So that conversation will steer me back to their needs in particular.
And you got to keep their interest.
Absolutely. And meanwhile, still putting forth that curriculum.
Yeah. So
you work with your players, work with your students and fellow drummers to get them to reveal what they need from you. Yeah. And I think that's 25 years of teaching, and I think that's what I've learned the most, and that's, I think, what I appreciate the most about being able to teach is to be able to get stuff back, and I'm constantly learning. Like you said, there's not a day goes by when I do a lesson I didn't pick something up and go, well, that was interesting. Yeah. And become a better teacher that way. Right. So.
I want to get your take on something. I want to get your takes on this too. It has to do with sticking, and I am not a really technical guy. I mean, I've played and love to play a lot of really technical music. When I talk about playing like 70s Genesis and Yes and Emerson, Lake and Palmer, Supper's Ready, all that crazy stuff, but yet I'm not a technical guy. So my question is, a lot of people will be very critical of the way other drummers stick and hold their sticks and sing things like that. I have a floating pinky. I have a tea drinking pinky.
Sure, right.
When I play, my pinky always gets loose. And I see people criticize other drummers for that. And my answer to stuff like that, whether it's what's with that setup, or what's with that hair, or what's with the pinky,
Sure.
my thing is always, would a blind person care? Because it should all come down to what you hear. But what is your take on this? What is wrong about this, and how can I correct it if I should?
Listen, anything that is now is subject to change.
Right?
So initially, you played the sticks like this.
Right, I did learn like this when I started. And I've come back to it in the last year because my wife's a big swing fan. And so I said, well, if I'm going to play swing, I want to play it how they,
Sure.
you know.
And I played part of it. I played some of the songs on the premature,
Yeah.
traditional grip. But when I learned, I had to learn this way. And when my teacher wasn't looking, I flipped it, my sticks, and he had a conniption. I mean, it was like a major crime I just committed. And I'm like, well, hey, Ringo does it. Well, you're not Ringo, But there's, the German grip and the French grip and this grip. Who's to say next week there's not going to be the Norwegian grip? So play what's comfortable, whatever can get you to propel this stick the way you want it to. Now, there are certain things that, yes, they're going to help you. And the Moeller technique, for instance, there's a certain way you've got to do that.
Right.
That's a given, But when you're playing, for instance, there was a picture. Somebody shot a live picture of me, and I think it was one of these pictures where it was like my face was like, I'm like ready to just crush something.
Yeah.
And I'm gripping it like Thor's hammer, And somebody wrote a caption on my thing like, "Oh, terrible technique, buddy." And I think I wrote back, "Shut up." So it was like, come on.
Yeah, especially a photo in the moment where you have no idea what's going on.
Who knows what was going on?
Yeah.
I might have been gang tackled from the back.
And you might have only had it like that for literally a millisecond.
As I'm coming down.
Yeah, who knows?
Oh, and the guy was like, shut up. So, and I'd say, listen, I understand technical stuff. We all do. We understand that there's certain ways to do things. But if it's so regimented that becomes the obsession of the teacher, or that you're so obsessed of doing that, rather than just get some information. Let's just get playing first, and we'll make some corrections as we go.
Yeah, I think the answer should be do what works for you.
Sure.
And I understand there's guidelines and all that, but does the pinky thing matter?
Not a whole lot, honestly. I mean, if you were my student, every once in a while I'd go, "Hey, watch your pinky."
Yeah.
And that would be it. And it would be on to doing something, and your pinky would probably come out again. And I may or may not bring it up again.
Yeah. I mean, I hear my own music if I have a video on, and it's important to record yourself and watch yourself, I think, but I can't hear whether or not my pinky's in the right place. I can't hear that. Can you? I mean, think about that. I can't hear if someone's playing like this or like this either.
Exactly.
And the way I play, when I play my kit, 95% of the time, and I've counted, 95% of the time, my right hand is German grip, and my left hand is French grip on the cymbal. Unless I'm crossing over to the hi-hat. Now, obviously, it's German because it's turned over, but otherwise, it's like this.
Yeah, I generally tend to play the French grip when I'm doing the jazz ostinatos at higher tempos, because I can incorporate my fingers a little bit more.
And I played for, I'm at 47 years. I played for 44 years before I heard the term German grip or French grip. So, whatever.
To me, Mick Ronson, David Bowie's old guitar player, put out a solo album. And I love the title, and I use this phrase every single lesson.
What is it? F your French grip?
How'd you know that? That's amazing. Went gold, man. The album's called Play, Don't Worry.
Oh, yeah.
Play, don't worry. And that's, to me, where you want to go. This is music. This is not, we're not being held at gunpoint to do this. We're doing this because we love to do it, we want to do it, and some of us have this inborn need to do it.
Right.
And to sort of dissuade or to postpone or to deflect or divert that passion for the sake of a pinky or to me it's like...
Now all of a sudden you're self-conscious about everything and you're worried more about the pinky rather than the next break.
Sure.
Or should I do a fill or,
And is it really going to stop you from playing? I mean, let's say, is it really going to stop you from being as good as, say, a Ringo or a...
Right.
And Ringo did okay.
Yeah, absolutely. And for those of you who don't think so, I hate to say this because we're all entitled to our own opinion and stuff, but you're wrong. Ringo did great. Players like, little side note real quick, and then I want to get to some comments.
Sure.
Drummers, and tell me if you agree or not. And if you don't, that's fine, but sort of. Drummers like Ringo and Nick Mason of Pink Floyd are the hardest drummers to emulate because there's so much space in their playing, so any inflection and timing is going to show more, or you'll hear it more. And plus the dynamics, all of that, the margin of error is magnified. The margin of inconsistency is magnified. And it cracks me up when people just, no pun intended, bang on drummers like Nick and Ringo because they're not so as exciting and everything like that.
Right. And I could say just the opposite to that, because Ringo's energy and excitement is what made me want to be a drummer in the first place.
Cool. Yeah.
You know, I saw them on the, I'm old enough to have seen them on the Ed Sullivan Show. That's it, I'm leaving. but
I'm right behind you.
Right.
We're like the same age almost.
But the thing is, it's I was so drawn to that. You know, at 5 years old, seeing that for the first time, and like, what is this sound? What's this hair? You know, I mean, it was so new, but I was so drawn to him, and so it was energy for me, and he still is the you know, in the upper echelon of those players.
Yeah.
You don't have to throw down 1,000,000 notes per second. You don't have to have the technique of a Buddy Rich or a Dave Weckl or you know, or the speed of a Marco Minnemann or a Thomas Lang.
Yeah.
And these are all amazing drummers.
Great drummers.
And I have so much respect for them. But let's be honest, I will never be that. I started,
you suck.
practice. But
it's not your thing. It's also never been your path.
it is. While these guys were practicing their incredible chops, I was out working and gigging and playing and learning the business, and so I didn't have time to woodshed like that. And then you get a little older, but you find yourself as a working drummer at a very young age. And I was on playing nightclubs at 14 years old.
Yeah, I toured the first time I was 15. I toured the U.S. and Canada.
So once you're working, you're really just trying to maintain, keep the songs, learn the songs, write the new songs, record the new
Do your job.
Yeah, do your job. And all of us, even though we're drummer, that's our job descriptions are different. And Ringo's job description is completely different than Buddy Rich's.
Or Thomas Lang's, or Dave Weckl, or Nick Mason.
And they're brilliant players. But you're not going to hear Buddy Rich play a Ramones record, and I happen to love the Ramones, you know? And if we're talking about drumming, you know, it's not about how great the drummer is with me all the time.
Yeah.
I'm a music lover. And that's, I think, what a lot of people sometimes will lose, is that passion for the music themselves. They become a little jaded and a little bit more judgmental and analytical.
They want to know more than someone else, often the person they're seeing play. And it doesn't have to be that. Ian Pace said, and you can find this on drumtalktv.com too. Ian Pace said when I interviewed him, yeah, me too. He's my biggest living influence, other than you. But Ian said, remember, you are a musician first and a drummer second.
Absolutely.
And I think even before both of those, you're a music fan. And this is what you're speaking to.
Absolutely it is. And so, to me, the drummer's pinky or the way the guitar player throws a windmill doesn't matter. A hill of beans, if I'm putting on that record, and I collect vinyl, so I'm slapping on that record, dropping that needle and dancing around my room in my underwear. I don't care. That's a visual.
I was, lost for a minute.
You went blank there. But that, to me, is...
The shiny thong or the long banana print boxer one?
Yes. But so to me, it's the vibe, it's the music, it's the entertainment, and I will never lose that. I will always be a fan. I will always be a fan of music, musicians, and drummers.
And I'm sorry, no music sucks.
Right.
If you don't like something, whether it's someone's drumming or a band's music, it doesn't mean that it sucks. And I get so worked up when someone asks the question, who's the best this? Who's the best that? There is no best. It's what you like best. Now, there might be some best examples of something like, hey, I want to learn how to play trad grip and swing music. What are some of the best influences for you that you could recommend to me? That's a valid question. Let's go to some comments and questions.
Let's do that.
Because I saw one that caught my eye. about you, where someone says, no, you're not in trouble. Unless my wife walks in and says otherwise. Yeah. So, let's see. Wow, it's only showing me 1, 2, 3, 4 questions at a time, so it's gone. But a young lady, well, yeah, we'll go with a young lady, because I don't know how old you are, so we'll say young lady, everybody's young to me.
Yeah.
Said, I wish this guy was my teacher, such great information. So friend A.D. Adams on Facebook, it's, you know what, I'll
Please
tag
do.
you.
I'd like to hear from you.
Yeah,
I'd
let
like
me
to chat
tag
with
you
whoever
in
wrote
this.
that question. We can definitely talk and you know, hopefully parlay some information to you. And maybe we've been talking about getting Skype lessons set up. So I'm in the process of doing that. I just want to do it right, though. Dan, you and I have talked about that.
Yeah.
I want to do it right.
Yeah.
I don't want to make sure, awkward moments where I go,
Yeah.
here, what's your foot doing? Well, then your camera's looking at your arm.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah, well, we'll get, I'll help you get all that figured out. But in the meantime, get your name, get your relationship in the pipeline with AD.
please do.
We'll do another, you want to do another jam? We'll jam hand
Sure.
drums?
Yeah, man.
Okay, so we'll do another jam, and then AD is going to talk about this real, if you're a music fan, we're going to talk about podcasts that I've been fortunate enough to be a guest on 3 times.
Yes. You
And
need to come back.
I would love to. And so we'll talk about that. So I'm going to move this out of the way. By the way, because I saw someone ask, this beautiful drum is by Phoenix Drum Company. You know Philip in Scottsdale, Arizona.
Yes.
This is a hammered brass drum. It's just an amazing drum. And I use it for, it's very versatile. I use it for all styles. I do play swing, big band. My wife's got me back into jazz. But my favorite music to play is, like I say, all that progressive stuff I mentioned earlier. Genesis, yes. ELP, all that from the 70s, and of course a lot of Led Zeppelin, a lot of Deep Purple, stuff like that. But this drum has been very, very good to me, playing all these different styles.
Beautiful.
So here, I can't help myself. I'll give it a good whack.
Oh, you got it.
Here we go. Let's get the Bonham sound. That's not it. I'm probably blowing it out, but I just love this thing.
Sounds so
And this room is
good.
great. I've never played a drum in this room. It's my wife's art gallery. Wood floor, wood ceilings. It sounds killer.
Future recording studio.
Come record your album here.
Yeah.
Oh, and stick with us. That reminds me. So AD saw this house when we were first moving in December. He was part of the move-in.
Yeah.
There's a basement where there's the new Drum Talk TV studio, and he hasn't seen it since
You
then.
wanted me to go down there.
I wouldn't let him go down there, so I'm going to take you all down there so AG can see it for the first time.
Yeah, I'm so excited. I've been chomping
Yeah,
at the
and we
bit.
haven't streamed from there. I got 2 killer drum kits down there. This is my main snare, so you all get a taste of that, a piece of that. When I post this, because after you do a live, Facebook gives you the option to post it. Then I'll be able to see all the comments. You'll go through them.
Sure.
I'll go through them. He'll answer some questions. Corey says that was a great quote. I'm thinking you probably, and Matt as well, you probably mean from, well, maybe you mean from something you said, but I'm thinking maybe Ian Pace. A lot of information, Patrick says. Andreo, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. So thanks for joining us. Let's do a hand drum jam.
Do that.
Then we're going to talk about his podcast. And then we'll go down and see the studio.
I'm excited to see that. Yeah.
Cool. Do you guys like playing hand drums? Go ahead and comment while we're playing. drummers. We've never done this before,
That's
actually.
the first time
We've played on drum sets
Yes,
together.
yeah, that was a while ago.
I gotta find that video.
That was fierce, man. That was big.
Yeah, that
at
was
my place,
great.
right?
Yeah, absolutely. Shabby Road Record Studios.
Yes.
Yeah.
Jerome was with us, was he not? Was that just you and me that went there, or did Jerome come
Yeah,
down?
no,
Was
Jerome
too?
wasn't there.
I thought, wow.
That was at the place.
Yes, yes, yes.
Jester's too.
Yeah.
In Scottsdale. Yeah. I put down or I'll keep going.
Right.
So briefly, and I only say briefly because I don't know how long people are hanging with us. God bless all of you that still are. But let's talk a little bit about your podcast that you do with Ryan McKay, the guitar player, who's in Louis Prima Jr. and the Witnesses with AD. They got this really killer podcast. It's on every Monday night.
Well, it's actually, you can get it anytime now.
Oh, you can get, the
We
live
were
is
doing the
Monday.
live. Yeah, we stopped doing the live one just because of touring and
Oh,
schedule.
okay.
Yeah, we had to, having a live show at a
Yeah.
certain time required us to be at a certain place
Yeah,
at a certain time, and we're not that disciplined.
I do know.
It's just with touring and rehearsals
Yeah, it's difficult.
and recording
Yeah.
schedules, it just became too difficult. But it's called the Shabby Road Record Show. Shabby as in really crappy. Shabby Road Record Show, SHABBY. And we spin vinyl.
Recordshow.com.
Yes. What we do is, we have, Ryan and I both are vinyl collectors, so we have a rather vast collection of records. And each show, we bring 3 records from our own collection, and we house them in a mystery box. So I don't know what he brought, he doesn't know what I brought.
Mm-hmm.
And we take turns pulling out our selection. So I pull my selection out, and I talk about it. And I talk about anything I want. I can talk about the album art. I can talk about the drummer. I can talk about, a particular, fact or tidbit about anything I want. I can talk about the song. So, and then we take turns doing that. And when the mystery boxes are empty, it's over. And what we try to do is turn people on to different types of music. And I mean, it can be diverse. I mean, it could be anywhere from Johnny Cash to James Brown to Frank Zappa, and anywhere in between.
Yeah, anything goes, as
Literally.
long as it's on vinyl.
Yeah, it's got to be on vinyl. It has to be from our personal collections,
Yeah.
and it's been a blast. We've been doing it for 3 years. It's in the top 100 on iTunes.
That's so
podcasts,
cool.
and
It's a lot of fun. You'll learn a lot about artists you may be familiar with. You'll hear some great discussion, maybe learn some new things, and you may discover music you were never aware of that's just so obscure. Not that the music is obscure, but these artists are obscure because they're not in the mainstream,
Sure.
they're not really in the business anymore, and
Sure.
all this stuff, and it's a lot of fun. And again, I was on 3 times as a guest, and it's just a blast.
it's so informal. It just the picture. I guess the scenario is picture 3 knuckleheads. Or 2, however
Yeah.
many. And we have friends who come in and sit on the podcast, almost like
Yeah.
an in
Like an
studio audience.
Yeah.
But it's just sitting around, having a couple of beers with your friends, and going, you got to hear this record.
Yeah, exactly.
And then,
And then talking about it.
Yeah, and it's just so fun because the camaraderie comes out, the love of the music comes out, and we critique some of them, and it's a brutally honest show, and it's a lot of fun. And tune in, Shabby Road Record Show. ShabbyRoadRecordShow.com is the website, and you can download the shows. We're on iTunes. We're on iHeart. We got an iHeartRadio.
Really? I didn't know that.
I didn't know
That's
I
great.
didn't even know they did a podcast.
That's really cool.
When we started this, I didn't even know what a podcast was.
Right.
Brian's like, we should do a podcast.
He's like throwing green beans into the lake. It's a podcast. Officially, this,
But,
right? So, we have moved our headquarters and the Drum Talk TV operation from Las Vegas up here to Globe, Arizona. Back in December, we moved up to Globe. We lived in Mesa, Arizona for a few months and my wife decided, let's get away. And so we're up here, and the place has a space underground for the new Drum Talk TV studio. AD saw it when we first moved in. He helped us schlep some stuff. And so I want to take you all with us. Do you want to see the new Drum Talk TV studio? This is where I'm going to be doing interviews when I can get people all the way up the mountain. But I'll have people like you come, and we'll do some lessons, and I'll stream stuff like this. And I usually do it from my desk, from the office, from my Drum Talk TV office. I'll be doing it from down here,
Oh, that's
where I have 2 killer drum sets, an electronic kit by Alesis that I just love, and
Nice.
my old Big Blue Monster and all that. So you want to go see it?
I do.
Finally?
I'm dying to
Okay.
see it.
We're out of time.
Oh, no,
I'm
no,
kidding.
no.
I'm kidding. Oh, I'm sorry. Adrian is saying, any chance to hear this R-Tom Black Hole on this lovely snare? Yeah, absolutely. Let me demonstrate that real quickly. And again, you have a chance to win one of these. Oh, can you see that? You have a chance to win one of these just in this post. Put a link to a video on Facebook or YouTube to you doing some sort of warm-up or exercise on a practice pad, and Big Bang Distribution, which is where a head comes from, a head drumsticks and accessories, is giving away a 14-inch. They come in 10 to 24-inch, and they're really cool. What's cool about them is they make your drums still sound like your drums. So here's the snare on tom-tom mode on the mesh, the dot, and the rim shot. Then I'll flip the snare back on. This thing's durable. It plays lightly. I love this thing. It's great. I can, in my office, take a few minutes and just, okay, gotta get back to work.
Yeah.
It's great. Now I'm worried about my pinky.
See, right, yeah. You didn't put that pinky in there, man. That's a great little attachment. That
Yeah,
little,
isn't that neat? And you can get this through a head as well. Go to a head. Is it ahead.com? I'll put the link
Probably,
in.
yeah.
Yeah.
We'll put that
So let's go down to the studio. I'm going to leave the comments here. We'll have to come back up, or we'll post this after we look at the studio, and then AD will go through comments. I'll look at comments. Friend AD on Facebook. And let's unplug this. We're going to take you with us. The show's not over, so don't... Oh, and we got a low battery going, even though it's plugged into this brick. So we'll be really quick here. All right.
You can do it for you.
Yeah. So I'm gonna go this way. Put this charger in my pocket. I would ask you to close your eyes, but you gotta go down some stairs. That might not be
These
cool.
stairs have already killed me almost one time.
Yeah, that's true.
That was the other one.
Is the light on down there? Yeah.
It is, yep.
Okay, so here we go down into the new
All
Drum
right.
Talk TV
You wanna go
studio.
first?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's still some clutter and some stuff. This part's not done. That's going to be the control room. We're going to knock out that wood wall, put a window into this big room. This room here that's dark, let's turn this on, is going to be a vocal booth and great for like horns, acoustic guitar. And then the big room, okay, now you can close your eyes. Close your
Okay,
eyes.
closed, yeah.
Okay, and grab like my shoulder. Grab my
gotcha,
shoulder.
yeah.
Okay, I'll flip them out. I'll tell you when you can look. And open your eyes. So the big surprise is we haven't done anything yet.
I was expecting you. You know
Sorry,
I'm so
folks.
gullible. You play.
Yeah. So I do have my 2 killer drum kits. Here's the Alesis kit still in the box.
And you got the
and
blue
the
one
rack
then?
is over there, and the blue one is in all these cases. Here's my activities. But so here's the cool thing.
I was looking forward to sitting at that.
I know,
that
I'm so
infamous
sorry.
little kid. You're killing me. You're killing me, Smalls.
So here's the thing. We're going to have the Drum Talk TV fans help design the way this is going to be decorated and fixed up. We're going to put sheetrock where the sheetrock ends down to the ground. We're going to do that. But we're going to, at my wife's idea, and I thought she was crazy, we're going to get rid of this floating ceiling. And what we discovered, and I don't know if we can see, I'm going to hold this up there. Let's see if you can see up there. There's tons of electronic, or rather AC plugs up there. So you can see the wood rafters, and we're going to flock that. Sorry, I'm turning the camera like every which way. We're going to flock that with black acoustic spray. And we're going to figure out, we got a couple ideas that we're going to narrow it down to on how we're going to decorate in here. It used to be a train room from the person who owned the home before. But we're going to help you select. We're going to have you help us. I can't even talk. We're underground and the elevation's different. But we're going to have you help us select how we're going to decorate the Drum Talk TV studio, where we're going to do interviews, we'll do lessons, we'll have guests like AD here, and I'll do my almost daily vlog streaming. So sorry.
You. You get me all lathered up.
So, hey, we want to thank you very much for joining us. This is being done on my iPhone and the battery's kind of low. So we'll go. We've kept you long enough. For those of you that have come and gone, we appreciate it. For those of you that are seeing it in the post after it's been posted, if you've hung out this long, can't imagine, but that would be great. We really appreciate it. Thanks for following drumtalktv.com, where you can see all our interviews. And thanks for following us on the Facebook page, where you can not only see our interviews, but where we curate videos sent in from our fans from over 100 countries, as well as other artists that send us stuff and things that I find. And friend A.D. Adams on Facebook. It's
Yes.
A.D. Adams. Look at my comment in the comments, and I tagged his personal page, so you can do that. And thanks so much for joining us. Really, really appreciate it. It's A.D. Adams and myself saying goodbye from the new future Drum Talk TV studio downstairs. Thanks.
See ya. Take care.